this whole like school thing is not for me. Because if I can't shove a broom up somebody's ass, I just don't belong here.
Hello and welcome to the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast. I am your host, your roast coming queen, almost failer of Algebra 1 and former teenager, Alise. And with us today, we have the incredibly funny, the incredibly talented actress, comedian, and host of the Devil's Advocate podcast, and former Langley High School student. Please welcome Rosebud Baker.
Hello.
Hi. So I usually kick off the podcast by asking whether or not a person's high school was public or private, but I already know the answer for you because Langley High School was a part of the Fairfax County public school system, and I am also an FCPS girl.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's so funny. Every time I meet someone from Virginia or who grew up in our area, it's like you can't recognize it. Like, it's not like something where you can be like, oh, I can tell this person's from, but then after they say it, you're like, then you can see it for some reason, you know?
There's no like active like accent or like culture to Fairfax County. But once someone identifies themselves, it's like, it's a Fairfax County girl. I get it.
Right.
I get it.
I can see it. Yes.
She has friends whose parents won't tell you what they do for a living. That's like the DC area.
Absolutely. She has friends who got cars for their 16th birthday for sure, even if she didn't.
Yes. Absolutely. I did not get a car for my 16th birthday, but my parents did eventually buy me a car, and they got me a PT Cruiser.
Oh, nice. You're like a drummer. You just put your drum set in the back.
And I had to like, I had to act like I was jazzed about it because I'm not such an ungrateful teen that I'm not going to be happy that my parents got me a car. But it does have, a PT Cruiser has an analog clock inside. Like, it has no digital clock, so you have to just like read an actual clock. I used it to my advantage I parked in visitor parking my senior year all year because everyone just assumed with my car that said like Cougar Theater that I was just a parent, and I was able to do that all year without paying for parking. So
that's amazing. It's so funny too, because it's like your parents buy you a car, they go to this like massive length to get you a car. And then you're like, okay, this is the one car that everyone is making fun of. Like,
you guys screwed me.
Like, this is like, it's a car, but it also, you might as well write like, fuck you on the window shield, you know?
Did you have a car in high school?
I did. I had it was a car that my dad bought for my mom. And then I ended up driving it, but it was like an Accord. It was a Honda Accord, and I loved it. I felt like Accords were like the Camel Lights of cars.
Yes.
Like, it reminded me of like a box of Camel Lights. It was neutral. It was just like a neutral car. It was not, it didn't draw a lot of attention. It wasn't very showy. And it wasn't like, I just liked it. It was like a utility vehicle that didn't make me look like I was spoiled, which was like important to me at the time.
And were you that friend who drove everybody around, or was that like a different person in the group?
Nobody wanted to be in a car with me. I was a horrible driver. Within 6 months of getting the rights to drive that car, I had my license taken away for reckless driving because I truly would speed everywhere. I thought of cars, like, I genuinely thought I was absolutely like I couldn't die. And I would take these cars, you know, in Virginia, there's like these big winding roads, especially in like Great Falls and McLean area. Yeah. And I would try to get air in my car like I was in a bumper car.
Yes, my friend, my buddy Chelsea had like a race car basically, and we would do the same thing on those like back roads that we would take to get to high school, and we would literally try to like take off over the hill.
Yeah. It was like major. I was like a majorly insane person. But no, I never drove anybody around. Nobody wanted to be in the car with me. I did have to drive my sisters around a lot, which was crazy of my parents to be like, okay, she can't drive. She literally can't drive. let's put our other kids in the car with her and see what happens.
Was your reckless behavior mostly confined to your vehicle, or were you like wild in all aspects of your life?
No, I was pretty much wild in all aspects. I could not be contained. I was just a reckless little railroad kid is like that was like my vibe, you know? And it's so funny because when you're growing up in Fairfax County and in Virginia, you know that like that area is full of a bunch of like diplomats, sons and daughters. And so they're spoiled. They're spoiled kids. And they are, and some of them really look up to their parents, and then the other half end up becoming comedians. And or
a high number of comedians from Fairfax County, Virginia.
Yeah, and it's, if you look at it like the way that I was back then, I just couldn't. I was reckless in all aspects. I loved drugs. I loved drinking. I loved like older guys. I loved sneaking out of the house. I loved Tool and 311 and Fish. I couldn't decide what kind of music I liked. I mean, it was really all over the place. I loved The Roots, Mos Def, Black Star. I was like all over. I was just seeking some sort of identity that was as far from where we were from as possible.
Yeah, it does seem like all the bands you chose are ones that have like very intense followings. Like you wanted to be a fan of something that had like a fandom, it seems.
Yeah. If there's anyone that I could say I was a real fan of, it was The Roots, because that's lasted through my adulthood. Like I still listen to The Roots constantly. But yeah, I really loved the fandom. I loved going to concerts. I loved getting fucked up at concerts. That was like my main thing. I'm sober now and I cannot go to a concert. Like, it's like, I've been sober for so long. If I go to a concert, I'm like, I gotta get fucked up. Like it's crazy. It like awakens a beast in me.
Do you remember the first concert that you got like really fucked up at?
No,
because
I blacked out for a lot of them, but I do remember I remember my hair catching on fire when I went to see The Roots at the was it the 9/11 Club?
9:30 Club?
Oh yeah, okay, that's better.
Yeah. I've been to the 9:30 Club also as a youth, but I was too
remembered
scared.
It as 9/11 because my hair caught on fire. That's all.
You know the 9/11 Club?
Can you imagine you open up a fucking music venue and you're like, this isn't asking for it. This is fine.
No, the 9:30 Club is famous though. I also went to the Auto Bar. Did you ever go to the Auto Bar? That was in Baltimore.
Yeah, I went to the Auto Bar, but I can't remember what it looked like. I know the name so well. Oh no, you know what I did? I did comedy at the Auto Bar. That's where I went there.
I would go to see it was a space themed rockabilly band called The Phenomenon.
I can't. Say that again. Space themed
rockabilly band.
Okay.
I don't know which part of that you're not processing.
That's there's just a lot of missing. Okay, I got it though.
They had a tour bus that they designed to look like a little spaceship. And I was obsessed with them. I brought them a Build-A-Bear that I made at the at the Fair Oaks Mall.
Oh my God.
I brought them an original Fair Oaks Mall Build-A-Bear and presented it to them.
Honestly, that's the greatest gift.
It was beautiful, and I was dedicated to them. They were cute. They all had like stage personas of different like aliens and stuff. I was really into it.
Yeah, I remember going to see. Was it? I can't remember if it was like String Cheese or it was some kind of like jam band, kind of like wannabe jam band. But I remember getting a backstage pass and then bringing the lead singer to my home in Virginia where my mom was sleeping upstairs. And this man, I shit you not, was in his 40s and came to my house. and we never hooked up, but I don't know what I was thinking. Like, I absolutely, like, he thought he was gonna fuck a teenager,
Oh,
and
yeah.
he was 40.
So what was like teen Rosebud? Did you have extracurriculars you were involved in, or was it all like bands, partying, rock chick life?
So when I got into high school, I was a cheerleader, and it was mainly because my parents wanted me to do a sport, and I was like, "There's no way." I was a dancer, and I would I would dance every day. I would go to ballet class, and I took it really seriously. Like, I was good, and I practiced constantly. It was like by the end of high school, it was like 5 to 6 days a week, and so the only way that I was able to kind of like think of a sport that mimicked that was like being a cheerleader. And about 4 weeks into cheerleading, I got benched, which I didn't know was possible on a
Yeah.
cheerleading squad. Yeah, you can get benched. You can be a cheerleader who's sitting on the bench, like as if you have an injury. But the reason I got benched was because I made a joke. I roasted one of the other cheerleaders, and it did not land. I did not have the skill set, and it just came off as anti-Semitic, and I was benched. And and then I realized, like, around this time, I started to smoke weed, and I was like, oh, it's cool that I'm benched as a cheerleader. I don't want to be a part of this. I want to be on the edges of society. Right.
Yeah, I'm already getting this vibe, like Eliza Dushku and Bring It On. Like, she has that little speech where she's like, "Your school has no gymnastics team. This is a last resort." And then she's like, the mean cheerleader.
It was just like that, and I was so I just decided, okay, I'll do this, and then I got benched so many times that I just decided to stop. I just was like, fuck it, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'll do an extracurricular some other way. But the only extracurricular there was smoking weed for me. And I just would go to a friend's place, smoke weed every day. I loved bands. I loved partying. It was all that for the rest of high school.
And did you get involved in any like performance? I mean, you were dancing, but anything that like hinted at your future in comedy, was that going on when you were a teen?
Yeah. So I loved acting from like the time that I was like 10. I like even younger, like I was like putting on plays for my family and shit. So but I didn't want to be a nerd. Like, I didn't want to be popular, but I didn't want to be a nerd. So I did this thing where I could leave in the middle of school. I did all my like history, science, math, English, and then I would leave for the second half of the day, and I would go to this like academy. It was called Fairfax Academy.
Yes. Okay. I remember I always wanted to do those classes because you got to leave.
Yeah. So I left, and I would go do Fairfax Academy, and I would go do these acting classes in the afternoon. And then I'd come back at the end of school and meet up with everybody and go smoke weed.
So you did the acting classes, but were you involved in the plays at your school, or were you just like, no, I'm just studying the craft right now?
Yeah. No, I was like, no, I'm dedicating myself to the craft. I'm not here for the applause. I just want to learn it. And it's so funny that I even got into like when I went to Emerson, they were like, well, what plays have you done? And I was like, oh, and then at the very end of senior year, I was like, I got to do a play because otherwise I'm not going to get into Emerson. So I did The Wizard of Oz, and they cast me as the wizard. They were like, she's got a real booming voice. And they put me in the back behind a curtain, and I was like, I thought I was going to get Dorothy for sure. And they were like, no, not with that set of pipes. Like, get back there, and we'll put you on the God mic, and that's it. But so yeah, that was the only play that I did, and it was the last year of high school.
I mean, the parallels are endless because my big play that I did in high school was also The Wizard of Oz, but I was Glinda. So
see, goddamn.
So I snagged that, and we had a flying machine. I flew around. It was crazy.
I can see that for you. I can see you as Glinda.
Thank you. There was actually Well, during the show, like they originally cast it and there was an A cast and then we had understudies. But then the drama teacher decided that the understudies had been doing such a good job that he gave them an extra performance. And I had a full-on mental breakdown. I was like, so now the understudies are performing the Sunday matinee. I'm just so they're clear. The understudies are doing the Sunday matinee. Like, I just started freaking out.
You're like, so nobody ran this by me. Nobody talked to me.
Yeah,
I'm Glinda.
It's like, okay, I guess being the lead means nothing.
I love that. I can see that.
So panicked. Do you remember, kind of going off of that, do you remember any of like your major high school dramas? Like, what was like a time that you just really freaked out in school over something?
Oh God, this is so bad. I don't even know if I can share this, but like it was, I remember being in science class and the teacher accusing me of selling drugs. It was like, she went to my mom and she was like, your daughter's selling drugs. And I was like, I'm not selling drugs. I was like, I don't even know how to sell drugs. Like there's no, I can't, I wouldn't know where to get them. I would literally probably drive through DC asking people, does anyone have drugs I can sell? Like, I don't know. And my mom was like, I know you don't know. This bitch like hates you. I don't know why. She calls me every week. Like this teacher had like a real problem with me. And I don't know what it was. Mm-hmm. I still to this day believe that it was like a repressed homosexual urge that she was feeling and pedophilic maybe a little bit. And like, I hate this teacher to this day. And because she called my mom and my mom was freaking out. She was like, oh my God, like Bud's selling drugs. And I had to like sit her down and explain to her how incapable I was of doing that. And then finally my mom like went in and just chewed this teacher up, like chewed her up and spit her out to the point where the teacher was like crying. And my mom was like, you're jealous of my daughter.
Yeah. Did she ever say what it was that made her think that or what put her down that path? Or she just was like, you got a drug selling vibe.
Yeah, she was just like, your daughter's bad news. She's just bad news bears. She comes in every week with these short skirts. And my mom's like, that's her cheerleading uniform. She has to. She's like required to wear that. And she's like, well, she's hanging out with bad people. And I always see her with her junior boyfriend. And like, she just hated me.
Hello, everyone. Today's episode of the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast is brought to you by Trivia Star. Do you enjoy challenging yourself with trivia? Of course you do. If you're the one who always knows the answer, test your knowledge with Trivia Star. Trivia Star is a free mobile quiz game that is entertaining and challenging. You can choose from categories like music, sports, movies, TV, animals, celebrities. There's a ton of categories. There's over 60 categories to choose from, so there's always more trivia to explore. Maybe one day in the future, trivia nights will come back. You can play Trivia Star all the way through the rest of the pandemic, and then when trivia nights come back, you lead your team to victory. I'm just spitballing here. Trivia Star has 2,000 5-star reviews in the Apple Store, so join them today and see if you're smart enough to win. If you're listening to this podcast, I know you're basically a genius, so why don't you get on Trivia Star and prove it? Right now, Trivia Star is offering you 2,500 coins and 500 gems. You can use those to play, etc. when you download and play. Just go to the Apple or Google Store and search Trivia Star. Again, search Trivia Star and enjoy 2,500 coins and 500 gems. Download Trivia Star for free today. Wow. It's so funny how people who wrong you at that time, it like really sticks with you. Like I also had a teacher who was just kind of like irrationally a jerk to me. And in my mind, what I have decided is that he was going through a divorce and I reminded him of his wife. That's what I decided at the time based on absolutely nothing. And it is what I continue to believe to this day.
You probably weren't that wrong, honestly, because it's a very mature thought for a high schooler to have. It's got a lot of insight in it. Mm-hmm. And I think that that message came from your higher self.
Truly, like, there's not a doubt in my mind about it. And it's really not based on anything other than, this cosmic understanding of, like, this is coming from somewhere, a deep pain within my philosophy teacher.
Right. You're like, and it's got a lot of empathy in it, you know?
And it is,
understand that.
It is strange at the time when you're a teenager, because it's this weird place where, like, you are not an adult, but you know that you're close. And but adults in your life still have this, like, mystery around them where you assume they have their shit together, and you assume kind of the best about them. Not but
it's also like I feel like at that time, that whole image of my parents was, like, starting to crumble. Like, I was like, because in 8th grade, my mom got into, like, a drunk driving accident while I was there. Mm-hmm. And, like, she went into AA and got sober, but she'd spent a night in jail, and, like, my dad and her didn't get along, and he was sleeping on the couch all the time. So I was starting to see, okay, these are two people that do not belong together, but they have 5 children, and they don't know what to do. So, like, I think I was just kind of reacting the entire time that I was in high school to that mm-hmm. feeling that I was getting from my parents, that they were no longer, like, the icons that I thought they were as a child. Mm-hmm. Not that I ever, like, super looked up to my parents, but, you know, you're a kid, you almost, like, in your mind, they're like God to you.
Yes. Yeah. And it's actually funny. So I think we have a picture of you as a child, which I think I want to pull up and then compare to one of the pictures we have of you in your late teens. Okay, so we're going from
oh my God. Just the fattest. I just look like a fucking butterball turkey. I love this picture.
This is you. I really hate to say it, but you look like Honey Boo Boo in this.
Like 100%. I look like I'm about to eat my sister. Mm-hmm. I look like once they take the photo, I'm gonna eat her arm.
Honey Boo Boo holding baby Boo Boo, and it's, like, so cute.
Yeah, it's wow.
So this is, like, a very incredibly angelic image. And then we can fast forward, 10 years to this next one.
Mm-hmm.
And here,
yeah. This is well, it's definitely more than 10 years.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not sure where exactly.
This was after I graduated high school. Mm-hmm. Okay, this was when my alcoholism was in full swing. I was cutting my own hair with knives. My parents had gotten divorced. One of my sisters passed away my senior year of high school, like right before I graduated. And then I went to Europe, and this was me. This was me. And just in terms of, like, my skills for dealing with trauma, were this is it. You're looking at it.
Yeah, you do appear to be smoking inside. Is it a train?
Airport.
An airport. Okay.
Yeah, that's an airport.
You are smoking inside an airport. You have aviators on, holding a full.
I was told after the picture was taken that smoking was illegal in this airport. I remember that because I just assumed, well, we're in Europe, you can smoke in an airport here. And that wasn't the case. They were like, no, you're the only one smoking right now. And why the aviators? I don't know. I guess I just wanted to get in the mood to fly a plane.
Yeah, I mean, it was a full look that you're providing here. You wanted to let people know what you were about, and I think this does it.
If you showed people either of these photos and you were like, yeah, she's from Fairfax County, they'd be like, no, she's not. That's the cousin that Lindsay Lohan is embarrassed of.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Good God. Just like, you would guess that I was raised under a railroad. It's horrible. Either one of those photos. God.
100%. So, okay. Do you remember any like big scandals from your high school? Like one example that I use is that at my high school there was a big scandal. I remember getting on the bus and everybody on the bus was all a Twitter because this girl had put a remote control in her butt at a party over the weekend.
Yeah, big deal.
It was a huge deal. An enormous deal. So do you remember any of the like weird rumors or like crazy pranks or happenings like that?
Yeah, I remember I remember one big deal was when I was actually suspended for sexual harassment. I shoved a broom up my friend's ass. I was pretending to like I grabbed a broom and I like poked his asshole with it while he was getting like stuff out of his locker. And somebody saw me and they were like, "That's sexual harassment. You're getting suspended." That might have been in middle school actually, but yeah, it was a big deal, and got in a lot of trouble for that.
Were you like, when that happened, were you just like shocked by it? Were you scared? Like,
no, I was just like, "Are you fucking serious?" Like, and I reacted. It's so funny because now, if you look at it, I totally reacted like someone who's guilty of sexual assault. Like, I was like, "What? That?"
Like, it was a joke. It was funny.
It was a fucking joke, okay? He was laughing the whole time. Like, laughter means yes, okay? Like, I was fully but I remember like truly thinking this whole like school thing is not for me. Like, I was like, I think I just don't belong in a school. Because if I can't shove a broom up somebody's ass, I just don't belong here. Like,
what was your parents' reaction to it? Like, did they also think it was kind of dumb, or were they mad at you for getting in trouble?
I don't even know if they were paying attention. Honestly, they had so many kids. My mom was pregnant from the time I was like born until I was 10. So, and the last batch were twins. So it was really just like, she had so many kids and she was so busy with them. And
you could kind of get a sexual harassment charge and it would fly under the radar.
It really would. It wasn't even a big deal in my house. And I think my mom was at the end of her drinking at that time too. So a lot of shit just got brushed under the rug because it's like, she forgot.
And do you remember what your friend thought at the time?
Like, yeah, he was laughing. I mean, he was like, "This is ridiculous." Like, it's not like it actually went in.
I assume he was wearing pants and clothes and all that stuff.
Sure was.
I remember so much stuff like that, especially from middle school, and like issues where something that was clearly a joke among friends would get taken so far out of context, and just feeling like the adults around me were so absurd and ridiculous for like.
Yeah, I think, but everything that they did was like absurd and ridiculous. And if I look at it now and I'm like, if I had a kid that was doing stuff like shoving a broom up somebody, like literally just like poking somebody's asshole with a broom, your friend, as a parent, I'd be like, okay, that's just funny. That's just, you're just being funny. Okay. But if like, most of the stuff I feel like that they were reacting to, now I look at it and I'm like, yeah, they absolutely should have reacted to that.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think it merits a conversation with the student of like, we leave asshole related stuff. We do that in a separate space. We leave that outside this classroom.
It's not for school days. Okay. It's not going to be something you can do at work later on. Just get the message,
Yeah, we're creating we're trying to create a semi-professional environment here, and for that reason you cannot poke your friend in the asshole
with the janitor's broom.
Yeah. Also, this isn't yours. Like, you don't need to be using
none of these things are yours to touch.
Okay, that's amazing. I think that we are rounding out on the end, so I like to always end by asking you, if you could speak to your teenage self today, what would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. I think I'd probably tell her like, hey, you don't have to like be anybody. Like, you don't have to dress as something to look like someone that you're not. And just if whatever it is about you that's embarrassing, just embrace it and just be that embarrassing thing and like back yourself up. Because if anything, I look back, everything that happened to me that was embarrassing in high school was the direct result of me trying to look cool or trying to hide how embarrassing I actually was.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all the posturing that is actually embarrassing. Like the stuff that I, wanted to hide about myself, about how like anxious and however I felt, how not cool I felt, is way less embarrassing than like the times I pretended to be drunk at parties.
Yes.
And obviously was pretending. Like,
that is so funny. Oh my God. Fucking pretending to be drunk is so funny and such a high school move. Like,
yeah.
I remember actually being drunk and pretending to throw up, like just trying so hard to like be involved in like other people's experiences and relate to other people because you just feel like such a fucking weirdo.
Yeah, and you're like, well, like, yeah, I'm crazy. Like, I want to seem like I'm the crazy fun one, like everybody sees on TV, and then it's like, no, you're just a 15-year-old pretending to be drunk in a finished basement. Like,
yes. Oh my God. Absolutely.
Well, Rosebud, it was amazing to have you on the show. Thank you so much for sharing.
It was so fun to do it.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Of course. And shout out to the Fairfax County Public Schools for bringing us this episode. And for everybody at home, this has been the Roast of Your Teenage Self podcast.